From political analyst Ongama Mtimka on the breaking story of the day. Communications and Digital Technologies Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams put on 2 months leave, 1 month unpaid. Ongama, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Your reaction to this development?
Morning, Des, and your viewers. So for me, I think this is important. It's an important step in the right direction for the president. I appreciate more the fact that he recognizes that his is not the last word on the matter. The courts need to, the law needs to take its course. That's important because the lockdown has regulations and there are sanctions which are specified for breaking the law. And I hope that soon enough, law enforcement agencies will also act so that the sanction that the minister, that is due to the minister, takes place. Either if I interpret the regulations correctly, it's either the fine or imprisonment.
A lot of reaction on social media this morning, people saying that the law doesn't apply for the poor. Why wasn't she immediately arrested like most citizens have been when they violated the requirements of the lockdown? The president, do you think, is throwing down the can to the Minister of Police?
Indeed. So if we look at the cases where people were apprehended immediately, it's when they were caught in the act. I don't know instances where people, so when people were actually, if you look at that video that went viral, police had to actually go and apprehend those people post facto. So I think it's a matter of time between the law taking a proper, between the minister getting a proper legal sanction on this matter, and now that it has come out in the public domain. So whatever, they can't spend a lot of time because citizens are asking legitimate questions. I wrote a piece, I think about a week or so ago, where I was outlining why there's a lot of support for the lockdown initiative, even though when you look at it, it's authoritarian. One of the things I was saying there is that the reason why government is supported by the average member of the public as well as institutions, including churches, is based on the fact that there's a mutual perception of the risk that faces us as a country. And secondly, there's a belief that the state is acting in good faith. Now, action like this from the minister, and had it been allowed to pass and without any sanction at all, it would weaken the extent to which the members of the public perceive the risks associated with the coronavirus. And we could not, afford to have that, because already there are a lot of conspiracy theories which militate against what is commonly held about the coronavirus. So when you have people in the higher echelons of power also behaving in ways that weaken the extent to which we perceive the risks, it's not good for the country.
Ongama, I want to read you a little quote of what the president said coming from the statement, saying the nationwide lockdown calls for absolute compliance on the part of all South Africans. Members of the National Executive carry a special responsibility in setting an example to South Africans who are having to make great sacrifices. In your view, has Minister Ndabeni-Abrahams, like other ministers at this time who are very visible, has she been visible and showing meaningful contribution in terms of South Africa's communication strategy at this time?
Well, she's been, I think, by compulsion, because she serves in the National Coronavirus Command Team. So as such, needed to be present whenever the press briefings were being made. What I didn't see was her involvement in distributing, as Manana claims, supplies to communities. So I hadn't seen much of that. Obviously understandable, because you don't want people out and about. You'd rather have health workers and relevant portfolio heads, that are directly affected out and about out there. So yeah.
Also, the president said he has accepted her apology, but also directed her to offer a public apology. Can we expect this to come soon?
That's a good principle there. Apology doesn't mean, and the acceptance thereof, doesn't mean condoning an action and doesn't absolve one from the consequence. Apology, all it does is it shows the person is remorseful about the offense they have taken, but it doesn't necessarily absolve one of whatever sanction they should be receiving. So I'm happy that the president made that distinction and ensured that there's an exemplary action. So in the bigger scheme of things, and also to somebody who's highly paid with a husband who is in business, this is a slap on the wrist. But I think it's symbolic enough and it sends an important message enough to her colleagues as well as members of the public out there who may be tempted to violate the lockdown regulations.
Ongama, this is a second minister who's seemingly in defiance of those regulations and stipulations. Does this act by the president this time indicate how serious he is about, especially members of cabinet, breaching the requirements?
We cannot overestimate the role that public pressure plays in how executive authority is exercised does. And I think that in politics, we look at, for example, game theoretic approaches, how an action is compelled to be taken on the basis of what reaction may be triggered. So for me, I want to give a lot of positive messages around the culture of holding members of public servants accountable, which we are seeing, and it has been created a lot more by social media. So what I'm saying is that while the president may well be acting consistent with the posture of leadership which he has shown, we can never overestimate the role that public pressure played in that decision making.
Ongama Mtimka, thank you so much there for your contribution and your response to the president censuring the Minister of Communications and Digital Services, Ms. Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. I think she has also supplied that apology, that required public apology. I'm trying to get a hold of it. It's taking me a bit, but I will get to it. But latest news being that the Minister of Communications, Ms. Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, having released a statement by the way of an apology. I'm trying to get it on my system and I've got it now. Let's see. Minister of Communications regrets breaching lockdown rules and apologizes. It says the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, would like to convey an apology to President Cyril Ramaphosa, the National Command Center, and the South African society at large for breaching lockdown rules put in place to curb the spread of COVID-19. President Ramaphosa and Minister Ndabeni-Abrahams met yesterday after a photo was circulated on social media showing the minister at the home of Mr. Mduduzi Manana during the lockdown and social distancing period. And quote, "I regret the incident and I'm deeply sorry for my actions. I hope the President and South Africans will find it in their hearts to forgive me," said Ndabeni-Abrahams. She added, "The President has put me on special leave with immediate effect. I undertake to abide by the conditions of the special leave." Of course, we've been telling you about those conditions. 2 months out of activity and 1 of those months unpaid. It goes on to say, "I wish to use this opportunity to reiterate the President's call for all of us to observe the lockdown rules. They are a necessary intervention to curb the spread of the virus that has devastated many nations." And that's the public apology that the minister has made. There's also a video that goes with it, but I'm sure SABC News will play you that video as soon as we've uploaded it. What's your reaction to President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to place Communications Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams on 2 months special leave? Let's take